This podcast is brought to you by Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine for those that love to make and drink great beer. Learn more online or subscribe at beerandbrewing.com or find us on social media at Craft Beer Brew.
Start off 2018 right with a trip to Breckenridge, Colorado for the annual Big Beers, Belgians, and Barley Wines Festival. January 4th through 6th, meet top brewers from around the country, enjoy world-class skiing and snowboarding, attend special beer dinners, and taste some strong, inventive, and warming beers with fellow enthusiasts. Check out bigbeersfestival.com for more information. Welcome to the broadcast. I'm John Holl, senior editor of Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine, and we're in downtown Denver today recording a few shows during the annual Great American Beer Festival. And you know, if you think that choosing the right beer to buy is hard, try selling it. My guest today is Ted Whitney, who, after a career selling wine, came over to the beer aisle, first for Avery Brewing, and then to the West Coast, where he helped 21st Amendment grow and make gains in the market. And now he's in Wyoming, helping Melvin Brewery open new markets and getting all punny and the hop-forward ales into the hands of thirsty customers. He's one of the good guys in the industry, a hell of a conversationalist, as you'll soon find out. And if you can keep up with him, he's a fine drinking companion. Ted, welcome to the program.
Thanks, John.
I just want to start by asking you, your first weekend working for Melvin, you had a breaking and entering incident, and I think we need to address it. It's the Melvin elephant in the room. Tell us what happened.
Well, nothing got broken, it was very fortunate. It was a cold night. My flight got messed up. I got in late, and I said, "Tofty, where are you staying in Breck?" And he just sent me one of those stupid iPod pins.
Right, you were at the...
it was literally just a pin.
Big Beers, Belgians, and Barley Wines Festival.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this pin lands in a neighborhood, and I was like, all right, well, I'll probably sort it out. You know, it's going to be obvious, because who would just send a pin on a negative 30-degree night?
Sure.
So I get all the way up to Breckenridge.
Come to find out it's your new colleagues, but yeah.
He's a good friend.
Yeah.
He's consistent.
Yeah.
I get up to Breckenridge. It's all of like 3 a.m, and I park my car, and I look, and the pin is dropped right in between 3 houses. And I've got to pick the house that looks like the house they're staying in. Tofty says, dude, we throw out a blanket on a couch, and, you know, you're square. Just let yourself in, and you'll be fine. So I open up this door, and I'm looking around, and I'm thinking, like, wow, there's a lot of family pictures in here for an Airbnb. Like, this is kind of weird. And I sniff around, and I get in the kitchen, and I'm looking for some food, and, you know, checking out the beer selection. They're drinking Colorado Native and Coors Light. I was like, well, that's out of character. Maybe they drank everything else. But there was one bottle from the brewery in the fridge. All right, well, yeah, that's legit. All right, cool. So we kind of get through the night. I sit down on the couch. I look over, and there's this like super nasty, well loved by a dog blanket on the couch with a pillow that I'm pretty sure was well loved by the dog too. And I was like, fucking Tofty, man. And I lay down in this stinking blanket, and I'm so tired I just fall asleep. And about 6 a.m, I hear a bunch of people talking. They're all whispering. They're going, who is that guy? What's going on over there? And they're all up in ski gear, and they're being super nice. They left all the lights out, and they're like quietly making breakfast. And I can hear them going back and forth, and I'm thinking like, oh, well, Tofty's friends don't know that I'm up here. That's
right. You were new
to
the company, yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of roll over and like harumph and go back to sleep for a few more hours, and I kind of get up and take a shower, go to the bathroom, and making breakfast, and I'm looking around and thinking like, man, it's weird. No one texted me, so I shoot Tofty a text, and I was like, hey man, where are you? And he goes, in the house. I was like, what? Where in the house? He goes, in the kitchen. I was like, I'm in the kitchen. Oh my God. What's that address again? And he shoots me the address. I was in the wrong house.
Wow.
So I walked down the driveway and into the right house and went out and bought those guys a bottle of tequila and thanked them for not shooting me.
Sure. Which, that's a hell of a way to start off the weekend. Like, you're now that guy.
Yeah, that guy on the couch. Luckily in Breckenridge, you can leave your door open and not shoot someone for sleeping on your couch.
I started off by saying that you're in sales, but how do you characterize to people if you're at a cocktail party that's not in the beer industry? How do you say what it is that you do?
I usually start with pornography and see where they want to go from there.
Sure, of course.
And then typically come back around to admitting that I help people buy the things they're already looking for. No one likes to be sold to. Everybody needs to buy, so I help people buy stuff that's better than what they would have chosen on their own. Yeah, I just broke John's face.
You did a little bit, because I mean that's sort of counterintuitive to the way that I think a lot of us consumers feel that we're treated. I mean, what brought you to that realization? What brought you to that approach to sales?
the look on someone's face when I tried to sell them something.
Really?
Yeah. Standing in the beer aisle, I used to do a lot of hand sells, and you talk to people about beer. Hey, what are you looking for? How can I help you out? And everyone hates to have someone sell them something because it's an uncomfortable situation.
Sure.
People don't want to tell you no. They don't want to look right at you and say, well, I'm not really that interested in what you're offering. Everybody wants to be nice, and they don't want to confront you. And I learned real quick that you've got to figure out what it is that people are looking for and then show them how you offer what they're looking for. And that's what sales is. It sounds like manipulation, but it isn't. It's better understanding what somebody wants. And if somebody wants something I don't offer, I'm happy to show them something that I love. Like one of my favorite things, Melvin doesn't make a brown beer. Mm-hmm. Someone will ask me for a brown beer, an American-style brown with nice flinty finish, and we'll find something that's
kick-ass. Who is asking for that? Like, I want to shake these people's hands because there's not enough.
It's rare.
Yeah,
it's like, you're from like London or some shit,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But you can walk them over to the cooler, and you make a friend forever when you share your excitement for something that you really dig on. Like Ellie's Brown Ale is one of my favorite browns ever, and everyone I turn on to that beer gets so excited about it. And when you have that person come back in and see you in like 5 weeks, right, dude, what else do you got? What else can I show you? And I love teaching staffs how to do that as well. You don't sell to people, you just help them find stuff that you're stoked on.
The breweries that you've worked for, Avery, 21st Amendment, Melvin, you've seemed excited to work for them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but I also run into people who just kind of treat it like a job, and you've sort of treated it differently.
Why are you going to do something for 60 and 70 hours a week if you're not super excited about what you're doing? And for me, there's a deeper level to sales. You know, it's not just about punching a clock and showing up. That's an important part of things.
Sure.
But I think what we do as an industry is we help people realize that there's more experience offered out there. And we share our excitement for what we do for a living. You know, so many people look at this little flavor map of beer and they think that, God, I remember walking into bars years ago and they'd be like, what the hell are you doing, man? Well, I'm selling beer. We already have all three beers.
Right.
Bud, Miller, and Coors. You're like, well, you've got this little tiny flashlight on a humongous flavor map, and I'm here to help you back that flashlight up. There's IPAs and browns and goldens, and there's so many awesome beers out there. And when we get to share that with people, it's really exciting for me. And I think it filters into the rest of their life too. We're here to help people realize that they shouldn't just swallow what they're being fed. They should seek out things that are worth being stoked about.
And I think at this point, it's helpful to sort of back up to 37,000 feet, because people who might be listening to this might be going, yeah, we know that there's all this stuff out there, and we know that there's more than Bud, Miller, and Coors, but we also have to remember that the whole craft segment is still like 12% of the marketplace. So it's that 88% that I think that you're talking about trying to talk to. And in the early days when you came over from wine, I just want to back up to that. What was the thing that surprised you when you jumped from wine over to beer that beer wasn't doing back then? That was just like how do you guys not see this?
The stunning lack of money paid to salespeople.
Really?
Oh my God.
It's just a simple living wage? It's that?
It wasn't even a living wage.
Okay.
I couldn't have jumped over to beer if I didn't get a huge wine bonus that basically paid my salary for about 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's everybody. The sound you just heard is everybody putting this on pause and now going to like the wine websites, still looking for jobs now at this point. But so you were subsidized by wine from your previous gig to work for Avery, essentially.
Yeah, totally. I couldn't have done it otherwise. I think the other thing that we don't do in beer is, well, it's a compliment to beer. We don't ever get pretentious about what we do. We try to be as inclusive as possible. And I think that the wine world's taken some cues from that too. They started to realize that if you're an asshole, nobody wants to party with you.
Is that one of the reasons you jumped over?
Honestly, no. I think that I enjoyed that little arrogant piece that I know stuff you don't know and I get to hold it over you. And it wasn't until I grew up as a person that I realized that that's just not fucking cool. So, backing up then, when you're out there and talking about beer for the first time and you're talking to the 88%, what do you find as the biggest hurdle to get over? You got to get them to stop calling you a hippie.
Really?
Well, people have this idea. You go out to talk to people who haven't really been exposed to craft and who haven't really been exposed to having a lot of choice in what they consume. And sometimes they treat what we offer as an affront to how they live their lives. And it's really hard to break it down. It's really tough to tell them, like, hey, dude, I'm not here to threaten you, and I'm not here to judge you, and I'm not here to tell you your choices have been bad. They've just been limited, and I want to open things up. And to break down hostility there takes some talking.
But hasn't that been the conditioning that they've gotten for so many years?
Yeah, people like World Bev, man. They'll mess you up.
That's what we're calling Anheuser-Busch InBev these days, is World Bev?
Oh, whoever. We were over in Brussels the other day, and I wanted to put a poo bag on their step, but we didn't get over to their office. We got messed up at Motor Lambic.
Security wouldn't let you in?
Or close. Called us hippies.
We hear about
cheese and shut up.
We hear about so the 12% of beer drinkers hear about World Bev or the larger brewing companies, which do have a stronghold on this industry, and we've heard for a while that once you've seen the light of craft, it's time to make them the enemy. And I don't know if that's necessarily the right attitude to have. I know that there's this us versus them mentality that sort of permeates all of craft these days. But they are a brewery or a beer company that makes and sells beer, and they do it successfully. But on a personal level then, when you're out working for whatever brand you've been working for, what has formed your opinions? Like, what have been the interactions with World Bev or whatever we're calling them that have formed, what you just said a second ago? Because it can't be as simple as somebody else told me to do this. Like, this actually comes from practical experience.
For me, it's their disdain for consumers. It's their disdain for beer fans. It's their disdain for the industry. There are people who are big beer companies that do great things for the rest of the industry. Like Coors has gone out of their way to help craft brewers for years. And it's been amazing. They'll run samples for guys. They'll send their brewers over to say, hey, you've recognized an issue and we're here to help out. We can look at your stack fan or whatever it happens to be and help you guys out. And that's been incredible for craft brewers. Then there are people like World Bev, the InBev guys, who are limiting choice. They're kicking us out of chain sets. They're offering pay-to-play solutions. One of my favorite phone calls in the last year was in San Francisco when the guys from InBev came in for a Super Bowl, and they're offering $250 a handle to retailers to switch out to their items.
So they're going into bars and they're saying, hey,
Straight up offering money.
Yeah.
I called them up and, this is when I was at 21st Amendment, and said, hey, we've got 10 handles on. I'll take $25,000. Like, come on by.
Right.
They didn't think it was funny at all. We also immediately declared goose hunting season.
Okay.
So all our reps got Makita drills, and we went out there, and every goose handle we got, we put a drill right through the head, and we got to wear the goose head around.
Wow.
But it's messed up, man. Like, the pay-to-play stuff is rampant, and it goes on more than people realize. And I think because the three-tier system is kind of a Hogwarts, it's kind of this magical behind-the-scenes thing, a lot of beer fans don't realize how much they're being manipulated and how much they're limiting their own choices by supporting big companies who could care less about how good the beer is coming out.
So expand on that. I mean, we have time, and I think that the three-tiered system, you and I have talked offline about this a lot in the past, and it's not as easy as explaining it in one or two sentences. So, I mean, you sort of teed it up, so now hit it off the mark.
All right. Well, three-tier system, it's a concession made after Prohibition that was meant to keep the mafia out of distributing beer. The odd part is
How'd that go?
Great for them. A lot of them just legaled up and they said, all right, cool. Well, we can write legislation that makes sure that we'll always have a three-tier system and that limits the access of other distributors in the market, as well as creates franchise law so that we have to be selling these brands for life. We're married once a brand comes into house. Now, that was all well and good when we had 3 beer brands in the country, but now with 5,000, it really limits the ability of a brand to access the market. We have to go through a distributor. We have to be sold in a book of thousands of other beers. Where we've got 10 times more breweries in the country than we did 10 years ago, we have half as many distributors as we had at the same time. And it's setting up a really difficult situation, but people are starting to turn it around and starting to take advantage of the opportunity in the market. And you have these small boutique distributors popping up with reps who are so excited to share this incredible book of craft beer. And I think we're going to see an interesting 3 to 5 years because the consolidation reached a breaking point, and now we've got a lot of opportunity for people to come into the market, offer new beers, offer better options, offer better pricing for everybody so that breweries can afford to pay their entire staff a living wage. So that we can, at Melvin, we're committed to having everyone who works for us retire a millionaire. if you save enough money.
Sure.
I would love to set up a pension fund, and we might do that too. That's still on the table. But we're able to do that because our beer costs a little more. We're not in a race to the bottom. We're making decisions that ask our consumers to pay a little bit more for a better product, a better beer, and for the lifestyle that our staff can live. So we can afford to buy our guys ski passes, and we can afford to pay everybody enough money that they can have health care, and they can have a home, and they can have a family. And I think that when you support a company like Melvin or support another independent craft brewer, what you're really supporting isn't just a great beer. It's also the lifestyle that they can offer their staff. And that's an important choice to make.
How do you convince the folks who are just saying beer is beer to see it that way?
By drinking a beer with them.
Okay.
You crack the top. And if you can get
Is
them to
it
drop
really
their,
retail politics at this point? Is it just glad handing and door to door?
That's the best way I've ever found to do it. Now, you can also do things like we're doing here today. We're filming a commercial with Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Right.
We make a big splash. We just bought a bunch of T-shirt cannons and a T-shirt Gatling guns. We're offering T-shirts to everybody at GABF. There are ways to get the name out there, and hopefully it gets people to select a Melvin when they're out at retail. Mm-hmm. But I think at the end of the day, the only thing that'll ever convince somebody to come back is a great beer in a can or a bottle.
Okay.
Actually, can.
Sure.
Let's
You
be
guys.
honest.
So Melvin just exclusively cans.
Yeah, we can only afford a canning line.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Until we start bottling, then bottles are awesome.
So Avery obviously bottles, but 21A did not.
Cans only.
Cans only. So that sort of helped as well. And we talked in the past. I mean, you were head of national sales when you were at 21st Amendment,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys had watermelon wheat. So I mean, basically, like you didn't have to do anything.
Oh, dude. My least favorite 4 words.
Yeah.
I can't count words very well.
Uh-huh.
Beer sells itself. It's such a lame thing to say, but every now and again you're like, well, all right, whatever, man. Screw you. It's true. It sold itself.
Sure. Those were great summers.
Yeah.
How do you? You've jumped around to 3 different breweries now. In the 2, Avery has a pretty big footprint. It's in a bunch of states. I don't know how many, but 30 plus.
Yeah, they say about big feet.
Well,
Big shoes.
same thing with
Big
21st
beers?
Amendment. Both coasts. Melvin is still small. Melvin is only in
We're
a
kind of a medium deal.
Okay, well, but it's not as big a footprint as the places. And
No.
somebody who might be looking at the resume might say, well, why jump over? Why go smaller?
Wayne, the great one, always said, don't play to where the puck is, play to where the puck's going. Mm-hmm. And I think that Melvin is way ahead of the game. We're making great beers, and it really is some of the best beer I've ever had in my life. And boy, I've had some really great beers. But we're doing it in a way that I'm really proud of. We're taking care of our staff. We're thinking forward about what's the market going to do, and how can we have more fun with it. We really live by the tenet that if it's not madness, it's not beer. And I mean, you guys came out for Madness Days. You saw how we live, and it's a lifestyle. This wasn't like a gimmick. It's not
setting up a fake village in the middle of
where anything can happen.
Whateverville. Yeah.
Ooh, deliciously almost coated beer. We're very authentic, and I think that when you can have a job that allows you to live the life you want to live, it's not just about punching the clock. It's about getting paid to do the stuff you do for free anyhow. 98% of my workday is something that I do for fun. The other 2% is expense reports, and I hate those.
Sure. But you get your money back.
I spent
so
my money.
It's a good thing. Can a brewery change over time? I mean, so right
Absolutely.
now though, right now people who are learning about Melvin and people who learned about Avery in the early days of Avery and people who learned about 21st Amendment in the early days, I think the breweries have evolved and changed over time so that they're not the way that they were when they first started. And so how do you keep from your position and being out there and selling, like how do you keep as things evolve, how do you keep people interested?
Ooh. I think that you need to start with a really good set of core values that always guide your decision making. And so long as you honor those and you're true to what you want to do, I don't want to say the magic just happens, but the magic just happens.
Well, I think that's true. I mean, there's certain breweries that we can point to who do that quite well. I mean, Sierra Nevada is probably the biggest example of that. I mean, from day one, they've been like that, and it's one of the reasons that they're still, I mean, sales were flat last year for Pale Ale, but they weren't down
well,
like
I think
everybody
that's an
else
interesting
was.
metric too. How much more distribution can Sierra gain? Like, holy Christ, man! They sell beer out of my fridge at home. It's like, what? Well, that's interesting. When that happened,
Right?
They're like, oh, we ran out of stores to sell it in, so we're just going to people now.
Well, that's
But how
it's a
can
hell
you
of
get
an
growth?
idea. You should
So
market that.
The idea, right? It's a dispenser. Swipe your card. You can have a beer.
Right.
That's how I
Oh,
get my
you want eggs too? Yeah, there it is. Oh, look at that! It's we're drinking the same beer. We're staring at each other in the eyes. This is
Sexy in here.
this
Disco
show's
ball
gonna
was
get
worth
weird.
every
It's gonna
penny.
get weird. Yeah. But all right. So if sales isn't the metric, then
Oh, I wanted.
Yeah.
So with Sierra, I don't understand why we always have to measure growth as the sole indicator of health. With someone like Sierra, they've got a great business. I mean, they're not doing poorly. I'm pretty sure they're about paid off on that new brewery.
right, which is incredible.
Yeah, at what point do you say, we've got hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and ends are meeting like a motherfucker? We're doing all right. We don't need to show 15 points of growth. And they're a privately held company. I think stockholders need to be down prioritized as the object of corporate America. Stockholders are someone who supports a company, but their interest shouldn't be the only thing that we work towards. And it gets us in a lot of trouble nationally. As beer, maybe we can start up a movement where we say we can live a very comfortable life at 50,000 barrels in production or 20,000 or whatever it is, and we don't need to grow further. We're here to pay our employees a fair living wage. We're here to be good members of our community. We're here to put on charity events that are going to allow us to help other people out. We're supporting an event on Friday night that's going to be funding Water for People, as well as the Chill Foundation. And I think that we owe it to each other to give back whenever we can. And that doesn't always involve growth. It doesn't involve just constantly trying to scrap and do whatever it takes to get ahead. It's about being satisfied. Well, or just allowing yourself to be delighted. And you can always find ways to improve, whether it's make better beer. It doesn't need to be focused on growth, I think.
When it comes to growth, though, I mean, we've seen that shelves are a very difficult place to sell beer these days. As a consumer, if I walk in, and even if I am a regular craft drinker, I find myself intimidated by all of the choice that's out there these days. Excuse me. And I think one of the defaults that folks in my position have is, I haven't really heard much about this, this brewery at this point, or, I don't know much. Ooh. This can looks kind of cool, but maybe it's kind of weird, or, there's no information on this particular can, so I don't actually know, like, what I'm going to get. So I'm just going to buy Sierra Nevada Pale, or I'm just going to buy something,
The old standby.
Right, the old standbys. So one of the things that we've obviously seen is brewery tap rooms doing really well, and you guys are now set to expand that concept. And it's funny to think of brew pubs, and that's I think where you guys are going with growth. But it's funny to think of brew pubs as sort of like the next big thing in beer, but it's really becoming that way. I mean, it's where everybody started off, and then everybody immediately moved away from it, and it's like, oh, we're putting in our 250-barrel brew house, and we're going to have a small tasting room, and it's going to be jammed on the weekends, and it's going to be great. But now we're really headed back into more intimate settings where it is also about food, and it's about community, and it's about...
It's a more personal experience.
Okay.
You can sit down at a brew pub and meet the person who made the beer and talk to the people who are most passionate about it, and it's hard to be more authentic than that. I think it's a very cool thing. We're putting in brew pubs not to step on anybody else's business, and in fact, most of our brew pubs will be focused on the beers that are brewed there, not just on the Melvin line. 2x4, huh?
Do you like it or not?
It's so good.
Oh, okay.
I just completely lost my train of thought, though.
Oh, okay. The brew pubs and what's going to be sold there, and
we're making a more personal experience for people who are beer fans. We're bringing it all back around, and we don't want to step on anyone else's business as we come into town. What we want to do is create a more vibrant beer scene, and I think we have an opportunity to do that in spades. As you identified, 88% of people aren't drinking craft beer yet. we shouldn't fight over crumbs. We want to fight over the pie,
What cities are you guys going into?
the fun ones.
Okay. So, all right, without getting too in-depth there, but it's...
Was that not specific enough?
No. But I imagine that,
Wherever we can find cheap rent.
Okay, but there's a good
beer.
bet that some of those towns already have breweries in them. So why should a brewery from Wyoming... isn't that what some of the larger brewers are doing right now? I mean,
We
we're
got
seeing
everybody in Wyoming drunk already.
Okay,
We're moving on to the next
7 of them?
party. Yes.
No, but I mean,
And they high five. Great.
but the larger you get and the more places you go, do you run the risk of losing that intimacy? I think of like the way that
Melvin-
there's
Melvin
10-barrel
never
pubs
loses
all
intimacy.
across the country. It's
What we're hoping for is not to have like a cookie cutter brew pub, but a brew pub that can be important to a town and can fit in a way that's interesting and compelling. So in Bellingham, we call it Melvingham. Mm-hmm. How great's that name?
Washington.
Yep.
Okay.
Bellingham, Washington. Our pub up there is going to be focused on making Scandinavian beers.
Okay.
I know, right?
It's you
Ready?
kind of caught
List
me off
7,
guard
go.
with that. All right, yeah.
Danish. Well, it's a
Why?
very Scandinavian town, and we thought it'd be really cool to honor that heritage and make something that gets people to think about beer in a new way and honors Scandinavian tradition. So, Scandinavian beer.
Okay.
Get ready for that.
So,
Yes, it's made with real Viking semen. Mostly.
come by on Tuesday and see how it's made. Yeah, that's
We're going to need some help. If you guys could just be a little quieter in your talking. Trying to concentrate.
So everything will have that concept. Everything will have a unique to that place concept.
Yes. Unless we run out of ideas, then we'll just start
And then
making
just
pubs.
start. Okay. Oh, you'll just stop. You won't start repeating.
It's not fun, don't do it. Or if it doesn't make someone laugh when you propose it. That's also a rule at Melvin. If you have an idea and you like blurt it out in a meeting, someone has to go, ha ha, that's dumb.
I've had a tough time describing what it is that Melvin is.
Right?
Yeah, I mean
It's a really expensive dick joke.
Oh, perfect.
Right?
Thanks. Yeah, let's.
I
Yeah.
tattooed that on my lower back.
Is that wow?
Gothic letters. They're really hard to read because I've gained some weight.
Well, just use a mirror and you'll be fine. But I mean, it is a very IPA forward brewery, very hop aggressive, very punny, as I said in the beginning.
Has Twitter.
But it's so different than a lot of the other breweries that are out there these days, and is. I imagine that has to help with sales on some level because you're going to speak to people who get it.
We
but
don't
it
sell.
also-
We
but-
just help them buy.
But it also has to be difficult for the people who don't get it right off the bat.
It scares the hell out of some people.
Yeah.
It's frightening to break out of a comfort shell and to be asked to do something that puts you in a place where you're worried about being embarrassed or you're worried about making a bad decision. Or, every time we ask someone to buy one of our 6-packs, they're making a $12 bet. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but even like quarter slot machines I don't mess with.
Yeah.
And God, 10 years ago, I got so excited to find a new brewery and try their beers. Frankly, now I'm scared half the time. I'll look at other people's faces and be like, well, they look kind of happy about it. I guess I'll try one.
You understand, though, the leap of faith that folks are having to take these days.
Well, and I think that there's a lot of cognitive dissonance that's created by it, too. If people pay $22 for a bomber of something super special from someone that has this great reputation, they don't want to admit that it actually tastes like sun-dried salmon.
Right.
You're just like, oh, God, geez, that tastes bad for you.
So, and we were talking about that before we came on, of that a lot of the beers that should get good ratings don't. And a lot of the beers that, if you've been drinking beer long enough and you're truly honest with yourself and you trust your palate, you're saying, how is this getting 5 stars, or how is this getting... That's got to hurt what you do pretty much more than anything else.
So much so. When I was in the wine world, I used to write my own shelf talkers.
Okay.
Those little tags that you hang up in front of wine. And I'd just write 5 stars. People were like, holy crap, 5 stars! And they'd buy the wine.
Just
Now,
sight
I knew the wine was great.
unseen.
Yeah, well, someone said 5 stars.
Okay.
My granddad had a great saying. He just always reminded me, opinions and assholes. We all got
Everybody's
them.
got 'em, yeah.
Yep. And I would recommend that people remember that, too. When you're reading a Yelp rating, when you're reading a review of a beer, half the time the person writing the review has no idea what they're talking about. And I'm stoked that they're writing reviews. It's amazing. But I've had so many people tell me, like, dude, your IPA is great, but it's not very buttery for style. And like that little thing breaks in your head, and you're like, I'm usually not at a loss for words, but I peed a little, so I'm going to leave.
Yeah. It needs more butter.
Yeah. Huh?
And then you immediately need to find out what it is that they're drinking.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then, yeah.
It's where I was so excited about Cicerone coming on. I still am excited about
Yeah.
Cicerone because beer needed to have a canonized body of knowledge around what quantifies good beer. We're able to say with authority now, this is a good beer because it lacks defect, it lacks fermentation problems, it's representative of style, and that's a bigger thing in beer. You know, is your IPA an IPA because the SRMs are off?
Yeah.
Yes, it's still a fucking IPA. Let's not be idiots about it. But is it free of defect? Is it free of acetaldehyde? Is it free of diacetyl? And those are the flaws that we need to call out. Now, the even more interesting part is how many people are blind to those flaws. Like, I can't taste acetaldehyde.
Sure.
I can feel it. I get a really bad headache from it.
Diacetyl is the one for me. I can't pick it up.
Oh, utterly blind.
And by the time I do, it means that it has filled the room.
Yeah. Someone would just be like, ooh.
Yeah, and the canary's dead
Someone
in the
making,
corner. Yeah.
smells like popcorn in here.
Yeah, but for me, I can't pick it up. And when I judge it GABF, as I have in the past, I can't, when I'm doing those categories, I really have to trust everybody else at the table
Right.
if they're saying that they're getting it. And then, but there's also, I mean, this is a whole other larger argument that we can have, in that movie theater popcorn butter is perfectly fine when you're at the movie theater.
Isn't that weird?
Why shouldn't we have it in our beer?
I can't smell it in the popcorn. I'm just like, oh God, gross.
Right.
Or I was up in Napa doing a wine tasting last week because I live close to there and it's amazing. But you'll smell diacetyl in wine. Mm-hmm. Just be like, oh God,
Yeah,
sick.
you get like a Chardonnay or something.
And everyone just
yeah.
stares at you and you're like, no, seriously, sick. Like,
Right.
you guys are like, oh no, we tried to put the butter in there. And you're like, well, I don't know
It's a
what
really
to do
nice
with this.
buttery Chardonnay. Yeah.
It's terrible.
But would you have said that when you were selling wine?
No.
Would you have had that opinion?
Well, that's when it becomes an attribute of the wine. So California-style Chardonnay grew out of the desire to have a Chardonnay that paired well with Dungeness crap.
Right.
So you could have something that was drenched in butter and had a nice sweetness to it and could have a wine counterpart that could hang with it. So they did extended malolactic fermentations, and they're basically creating diacetyl, and it's an attribute. Now, in beer, we consider it a major flaw because it's an error in fermentation. It's something that shouldn't be present there. If someone loves diacetyl and they love it in their beer, it's really hard to say, dude, bad call. Well, actually, no, it's really easy. Dude, bad call.
Right, but taste is personal.
It is.
But it's also a fair guess that those people aren't going to be coming and buying your beer anyway.
Typically, no.
Do you give up at any point of trying to help people?
Oh, God, I love it so much. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that you never lose until you quit. And that's the whole secret of life.
What can we consumers do better?
Oh, so much stuff.
Okay.
Would you guys please stop? I'm trying to think of something to make fun of. Man. I think as consumers, the best thing that people can do out there is believe in themselves and believe in their own opinions and have enough faith in themselves to go out and do what they like to do and know that their opinion matters and matters to them, but doesn't matter at all to somebody else. So don't make fun of somebody because you have different opinions. Celebrate the fact that you both enjoy something. Francis Ford Coppola said something that it really resonated with me. It was on Fresh Air with Terry Gross, and she's my favorite interviewer ever. She's asking him, like, so what's it like to be one of the most award-winning...
Rude. So rude.
Sorry, second
It's
favorite.
like I'm like right here.
You're second to Terry Gross. How's that?
Well, perfect. Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
So you got that going for you.
Right.
She's nice. Francis Ford Coppola is talking to her, and she says, what's it like to be one of the most award-winning and most loved directors of all times? And he says, you know, I'm constantly waiting for someone in the back of the room to stand up and say, that guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And I would just break down in tears and say, you're totally right. I totally don't know what I'm doing. But I've always had the balls to go out and do what I believe in anyhow.
It's the fraud complex, yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's just such a beautiful idea that we should have enough faith in ourselves to go out and do what we believe in every day. And I think so often we witness the death of our own souls because we stop doing what we believe. And isn't that just the essence of craft beer, that we believe in something so much that we're willing to mortgage our houses and willing to put our entire livelihoods on the line every day to get something out there that we believe in.
And then as a consumer, to make that $12 commitment, to try something new, to get out there, and then to hopefully find something that they like.
Yeah, well, and have enough bravery to settle on something you like, too. I see people so often get addicted to variety and addicted to what's next. And it's the equivalent of channel flipping when they go out to a multi-tap. It's amazing.
I mean, you've called, there's 3 words that you call the most dangerous in the industry.
Beer sells itself?
No. Did we have this conversation last week?
Dude, this is good. We might have. I drink a lot.
New, rare, and local?
Oh, Jesus, yeah. No, I hate those 3.
Okay.
They have nothing to do with how a beer tastes.
Right.
People get so excited about new, rare, and local, and no one of those 3 things has anything to do with what a beer tastes like. They're just ideas. And, oh my God, there's nothing that sells a beer better than new, rare, and local. And I've played on it. It is what it is. But let's all be honest about exactly what it is. It has nothing to do with beer quality. It's just a sheen on the outside of something you're about to consume.
Sorry, I thought you wanted one, Jamie. I was
I'm not taking 2x4 yet.
Okay, I was just passing beers over and.
Well, I can sell you on one.
How would you?
How would I?
Yeah. All right. So we're drinking. We're drinking 2x4 right now. This is your double IPA, one of like 70 that you guys make. I haven't had this in a while, so I'm just gonna.
It's the most award-winning double IPA ever. The only beer to ever win Alpha King, Great American Beer Fest, and World Beer Cup in the same year.
What does that mean?
We touch every can that's made with our hands.
But
they're clean.
Right. You wash your hands in between use. All right. So.
Yes, we do.
But all right, great. Awards are
that.
great, but I'm a guy who doesn't care about awards.
If I were to try and sell someone on 2x4,
a double IPA is a double IPA.
Oh, that's so not true. You know that's John.
I'm saying convince me.
No, still, so this isn't about trying to get you to drink 2x4 as much about. It's about me trying to understand what you need right now, and if 2x4 is the right choice. So talking to Jamie.
Yeah.
Jamie, how's the day going? What's up? What are you doing right now?
Jamie Bogner, the editorial director of Craft Beer Brewing, is here producing the show today. Yes.
Kicking it. He's helping us empty cans.
He is.
Making full cans into empty cans, just not a 2x4 right now.
Yeah, apparently.
I think the most important thing we can do in a salesperson role is understand what somebody's looking for and then help them find it. So it might not be 2x4, but the first thing I need to do is really hear what Jamie's looking for and understand what it is that he needs right now. And chances are that's not 2x4, but sometimes it is. If you started off with, oh, dude, I just got back from my lawyer's office, this divorce is going to be brutal, I'd be like, oh, you're mine. Not only am I going to sell you a 2x4, but we're going to go hit like 8 strip clubs, and we'll be calling for bail money in Vegas in like 19 hours. Again.
But in all seriousness, I mean, because it is a hard sell. And it is, how does this stand out from... I'm not asking you to do a commercial for your beer here, but but
that's ironic.
I know. But how do you get people to give you money as opposed to just picking up Torpedo or just picking up... I know Torpedo's not a double. Honestly, the internet is now like calling me out on that. But or picking out any number of doubles that are out there these days. I don't. What's a famous double?
I keep picturing Siamese twins when you say that.
Who'd you like to knock off their perch?
Nobody. I wanted to celebrate every double that's out there. Oh God, is there a hazy double? I try not to know these things.
Probably like a New England style double IPA. Isn't that all of them?
Oh, dude, Taylor Swift wrote a song for me, and I thought it was so cool of her impression. Even haters gonna hate. I hate the shit out of those hazy IPAs. I'm gonna say it.
You guys won't make one. We talked about this.
No, we might make one.
Oh, really?
Well,
money.
No Tofty.
No, but seriously, no. We've talked about this in the past. You don't like them. You're saying that
and
you
then
have
every
to
now
have
and again
fun
I have
and you
one
have
that's
to be
actually
true to
tasty.
yourselves and all of these things. So either you have to make one that you can actually palate, but then are you just doing it to follow the trends?
What I want to do is make a New England style IPA that's crystal clear.
Zima.
Deal with that.
Yeah, it's Zima. It's super fruity.
Now what are you going to do?
Nice. Yeah.
We got 28 points on Rate Beer. By the way, Rate Beer says, fuck those guys, drink Budweiser. I want to make those shelf tags. It's gonna be
Man,
awesome.
we should have started drinking 2x4 before we started this. That was another show. All right. Closing
Are we up
thoughts.
to 4 fights?
Yeah, pretty much at this point.
All right.
I want to start getting
2x4s.
to closing thoughts at this point of where do you see the future of beer in America right now?
Holy Christ, dude. Well, if we get through the nuclear apocalypse, which is bound to happen in the next 45 minutes or so,
Yeah.
I hopefully Twitter just sees their role in that and is like, you know what, honestly, let's just shut this shit down.
Just suspend it.
I want
Sorry,
everyone
you're
invested in
suspended.
Twitter to just unanimously say, we don't give a shit about our investment, shut down the company, let's save the world.
That was a good stall, but answer my question.
I didn't even think while I was stalling. That was the worst part. The future of beer
Damn you,
is...
2x4.
The future of beer is on the shoulders of the people who believe in excellence, on the shoulders of the consumer who recognizes their role in creating a better industry and a better world for people who work. And I don't want to get too philosophical about it, but every choice we make as consumers, every choice we make as someone who can purchase anything, needs to be informed by how that company is treating the people who produced it. And I really hope that as beer continues to advance, we continue to lead the charge to creating a better world for people who do things for a living. And not a better world for people who don't work but collect just a butt ton of money on stupid stuff. Like robbing people who work. Is that not too... That was a little political.
No. I think it's a good thing for
If you
everybody
read
to be
between the
thinking about.
lines, there's a middle finger.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. Pointed in the right way. Pointed at only like 1% of the population.
But still.
It's a big middle finger.
If people wanna
Arsenio Hall.
Jesus. Man, you're just like, this is just like one just weird pop culture reference after the other.
It's not even pop. Everyone born before like 1975 is like, oh yeah, remember that guy?
Right.
I
Who?
wonder how he is.
Right. How's he doing? He was in Coming to America. Right.
Had all the toothbrushes.
Right now I'm washing lettuce, you see? But soon I'll be on fries. Soon enough.
Looking good, Mortimer.
If people want to, that's a whole other movie. If people want,
Well,
I don't think Arsenio Hall is.
But doesn't it cross across?
Oh, they are in
Remember
that,
at
aren't
the
they?
end?
All
We're
right.
back in business with the toothbrushes. See how I brought that full circle? And
Man,
if I
this
could just get
2x4
McDougal's
is,
to serve some beer, we'd be
McDowell's?
fine. Oh,
There it is. All right, before the wheels come off of this too much, and I know you have to
What
go hang
wheels?
out with Hacksaw Jim Duggan in a few minutes, and people can read all about that on your website, which is
www.melvinbrewing.com/GABF if you want to come out and hang with us this week. If you've never seen a
This is
grown
gonna
man
air- this is
throw up
gonna
on
air-
himself.
This is going to air like weeks after GABF. If you
Oh,
think this is live
if you want to see
right
what you
now-
missed, check
Right.
out this old page that is probably stashed somewhere in Yahoo's servers.
Good, along with your personal information. Fantastic.
All my Equifax is online. You can check that out.
Ted Whitney of
Fantastic
Melvin
credit.
Brewing Company.
Or I
Thanks so
used to.
much for having us here. Thanks so much for a candid conversation
What
on
a pleasure.
a part that like we don't actually get to see all that often.
I can't wait for the inevitable fights to come out of this.
And you can join the conversation
get
on
Yugo
beerandbrewing.com along with our Twitter. You can reach out to me specifically at John Holl at Beer and Brewing or on Twitter at John_Holl. It's HOLL. Let me know what you think of what Ted said, and I'll give you his home phone number so you
Yes.
can call him.
I only have a cell phone. I want you guys to know that John held his hand up in the air that entire talk.
Yes, I did. In this very magnanimous way of friends, Romans,
Shakespearean,
countrymen,
even.
lend me your ear.
Yes. Like Kenneth Branagh of beer.
We appreciate you all listening. We do this for you, and we do this because we care about independent journalism in beer. And so if you care about that as well, please consider a subscription, not only to this podcast, subscribe to that, but also to the magazine, Craft Beer and Brewing. You can find all of the information at beerandbrewing.com. And we'll be back
Certainly.
again in... Oh, sorry, what?
I was going to say, certainly some of the best writing in beer right now.
Well, I think so.
We are so excited about the magazine. We're so excited about the articles that come out. And
I read it for the articles.
I was talking to Tasty and Randy Griggs the other night, and I'm going to throw out, what up, Randy Griggs?
Wow.
But the
We
beer and
didn't even
brewing
get into
came up.
Tasty. Yeah, did it really?
Tasty.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't met Tasty, get his cookies.
Yes.
I mean that in
Just
every
ask
sense
him
of
if
the
he
word.
has something delicious for you. Yeah. It sounds
That
weird.
was a weird visual.
It sounds weird, and then you lose 4 days. But anyway, yes, please.
was the third time I got crabs.
continue stepping on my ending here, please. So you were with Randy Griggs and Tasty the other day.
Well, we're talking about how cool the magazine is,
It's
and how
still here,
relevant it
everybody.
is, and how fast it gets on top of things going on in beer. Because the industry does go really fast these days. And if you guys want to stay in the loop, you've got to be supporting people who stay on top of what's happening in beer.
So if you're part of the group that agrees with everything that Ted said earlier today,
Or
please,
you're dumb.
please consider a subscription and let us know what you think of all of this. And again, thanks so much, Ted, for being here. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. And cheers
It's a brand
until
new
then.
edition. I'm going to go pee.
Start off 2018 right with a trip to Breckenridge, Colorado for the annual Big Beers, Belgians, and Barley Wines Festival. January 4th through 6th, meet top brewers from around the country, enjoy world-class skiing and snowboarding, attend special beer dinners, and taste some strong, inventive, and warming beers with fellow enthusiasts. Check out bigbeersfestival.com for more information.
This podcast is brought to you by Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine for those that love to make and drink great beer. Learn more online or subscribe at beerandbrewing.com or find us on social media at Craft Beer Brew.